The following show is a Pod Avenue production. You are cordially invited to have dinner with the King. Pull up a chair and join WWE Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler and Glenn Moore. Enjoy.
Broadcasting live from sunny Fort Myers, Florida, it's Dinner with the King. I'm Glenn Moore, joined here by WWE Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler. Soaking in the rays here in Florida, King.
Well, soaking in the rays at the moment, sort of, because I'm inside doing this with you. But outside, I'm looking outside. It is beautiful, not a cloud in the sky. But I got down here to Fort Myers yesterday, and I'm going to tell you something, Glenn. It rained. It poured. It was torrential rains yesterday. It was literally, I was down here, like for the beginning of the hurricane that came through and came right through Naples and Fort Myers and everything. And this rain yesterday was harder and lasted longer than that rain did. I've never seen anything like it. So it's one of those deals. That's just kind of what happens in South Florida this time of year. It's, you get up in the morning, it's beautiful sunshine, the heat builds up during the day, and then in the afternoon about 3 or 3:30, something like that, the clouds start forming, and then you get a big rain for about 45 minutes or so, and then it clears up again. So that's just the way it is here in Florida. But right now it's sunshiny. So let's hurry up and get this podcast over and get out and soak up the rays, like you said.
Well, we have a very special episode this week. We have part one of a two-part episode with Jeff Jarrett. Now, Jeff was on the show previously talking about being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, but this is going to be more Memphis-centric because I'm sure you guys can talk for forever about wrestling in Memphis, but also WWE. So we'll let you guys talk for two episodes, King, with
two
Jeff Jarrett.
Episodes with Jeff Jarrett. It's funny that we got Jeff on. Somebody had just sent on Twitter this morning. I saw a tweet and I retweeted it, put it out there. It was an old clip. Maybe it says Jeff Jarrett's first interview on television. I had him as a little short guest answering a viewer's question on one of my Jerry Lawler shows, which I think it said it was maybe from 1984 or something like that. But anyway, a viewer had written in about asking a question about Jeff's size, because at that time he looked like he weighed maybe 160 pounds soaking wet. He had just started. He had come off the deal where he had been a referee and then got jumped by, I don't remember who. We'll ask him that later on. But then he was just, barely getting started in wrestling. Somebody asked him a question about his size, and he went on to explain how he definitely realized that he needed to put on some weight and get bigger in order to be successful in the wrestling business. But so it's cool that Jeff is going to be on. Yeah, there's a million things. I mean, we've helped train the kid, and then later on went on to become tag team champions with him. And man, some of the great matches that we had with the Moondogs were just unbelievable. But yeah, we'll talk all about that kind of stuff a little bit later on with Jeff Jarrett. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, I played the audio from his first TV interview on the last time Jeff was on the show, and you could tell like he was just kind of nervous, and it was his first time on TV. But that was from the Jerry Lawler Show way back in the day, and that was the episode where, Jerry, you were giving insight on how the recording was going for Wrestling with Girls.
Oh yes, that's right. I think Steve Cox, I believe, was the guy that was the engineer and played all the music and did there was nobody in the studio but me and Steve, and this was in the days of the synthesizer, and he could make that synthesizer do absolutely anything. It could sing itself. I mean, he could make it play, sing voices and do background music, and and sound like every kind of instrument that you could think of. And
okay, we are back on the show. We're sitting here with Steve Cox. Steve, welcome to the show. We got some bird effects here and everything today.
Oh, it's great to be here. I brought the entire Ellendale Philharmonic Orchestra with me today.
The Ellendale Philharmonic. Okay, tell us a little bit about what this is in front of you, Steve.
Computers are in the music business. They've officially been initiated. They've got their own union card. We've got, when you listen to Blue Thunder on the TV, is that the right network? But anyway,
what's it?
They're coming in, and that shows you what you can do here on this end. The computers let this synthesizer control virtually everything else in the studio, including the machine up here called the sampler.
So how do you get these sounds? So what do you make them up yourself? You create them, or what do you do there?
If I can turn around a second.
Go ahead.
Just place the microphone, the giant microphone, right here in the slot. Set a spot, turn it on, and go, Jerry Lawler. And then to play it back, it's as simple as pressing a key, Jerry Lawler. And to hear it backwards, you just turn a couple of knobs, and Jerry Lawler backwards, as I'm sure everyone in the audience knows, is Lawler. And that's exactly how it's done. You can play it.
Jerry Lawler.
Jerry Lawler.
Jerry Lawler.
Jerry Lawler.
Jerry Lawler. Jerry Lawler.
It's amazing.
Absolutely as easy as it can be. And that's all the time it takes. We've got Terry
dying laughing in the background. That's good.
So he put together this soundtrack and went in there to his studio that was in his home, and we recorded the song "Wrestling with Girls," which was one of my not a huge hit, of course, but just one of the many songs that we recorded along the way.
And we did a whole episode about the King and his music, and that song was featured on that episode of Dinner with the King. So you can go back on iTunes and Stitcher and on YouTube, and you can find that episode to where King talks about wrestling with girls. The song, of course.
So our the song, of course. Our podcast just they live on forever, right?
Oh,
I mean,
forever.
It's like the WWE Network. You can go back and watch anything that has ever been on the WWE Network. Or that has ever been on WWE. It's on the network now. Same thing with our podcast, right?
Yeah, it's on all the podcast platforms. It's on YouTube. So, 10 years from now to where, maybe we're not doing the podcast. I can't see us doing 10 years of the podcast.
Why would we not be doing the podcast in 10 years?
I mean, what are we going to talk about?
I don't know. Me sorting my socks, checking my teeth for plaque, clipping my toenails, anything,
No, but either way, even after we're gone, the show will be online forever, so people can listen to the show 10 years from now.
And we could still be doing like Jim Cornette. I loved it. He sent out a tweet this morning that I had just died laughing. I don't know where he finds this stuff, or I guess people find it and send it to him knowing how bad he's going to hate things like this. But did you happen to see the little video clip of some guy, and he's actually in the ring with a blow-up doll, and he's doing these rolling over flips or something. I don't know what it would. I don't even know what you would call it, but he's got this doll attached to him. And when you just look at it, it looks like a real person. And they're just in this crazy position where they're just flipping over and over and over, around and around in the ring. And Cornette tweeted out, "Please tell me what this guy's name is so I can just completely hate his guts."
Jim's the best. We don't agree with him politically, but his wrestling views, I think we all agree with the state of indie wrestling, because some of it is just terrible.
Some of it, of course, some of it, but some of everything is terrible. So,
yeah, but I mean,
I do a lot of indie shows. I do. I'm with almost every single weekend, and I very, very seldom ever see really just terrible stuff. I mean, we did a show in Hot Springs, Arkansas, just last Saturday night, as a matter of fact. And J.J. Dillon was on the show. Lex Luger was on the show. Grandmaster Sexy Brian Christopher was on the show. Oh, gosh, the former NWA champion, the Tim Storm guy, was on the show. It was just a ton of really good talent. I wrestled Matt Riviera in the main event there, and there were some really good matches and some really good talent on the show. This was, by the way, the show in which they had Ric Flair booked, and I guess I really need to check on Ric. Something happened. I'm not sure exactly what, but because of health reasons, he had to cancel his appearance there. So they called around. They got Lex Luger to come in, a couple other guys that came in at the last minute, and everybody was really happy. It was really a good show, and so that's a good indie show that happens every now and then. Michael O'Brien, I never see a bad show that he does.
No, he's always.
I got to quit calling that. That comes from habit. Michael Lombardi.
There we go. With
Northeast Wrestling. Yeah, never does a bad show.
Are you doing any of the Wrestling Underneath with the Stars events up in the New England area with him this year?
Yes, I am. As a matter of fact, sure am.
That's good. I
got a show June the 2nd. I'm back down with the people that I went down. When I can't remember the names of their company there. But anyway, it's going to do a show right outside of Dallas, Texas, and then there's a show with the 2-man Power Trip. You've heard of those people?
I have.
I'm doing their podcast, I think, next week, and then I'm doing a show with them in New Jersey on June the 9th. Then here you go, Michael O'Brien and Michael Lombardi's got a big show at Six Flags.
Oh,
it's going to be big at Six Flags in New Jersey on June the 16th.
There we go.
And June the 15th, guess who's going to be coming to Memphis? And we're going to set up a ring right outside my bar and grill there on Beale Street. And we're going to have 2 UFC fighters going against 2 professional wrestlers with Dana White in attendance.
Oh, wow. That's going to be a big deal.
Yeah. Have you ever heard about Dana White's TV show, Looking for a Fight?
I think I've seen a few episodes on YouTube, and they're fairly popular. So, yeah.
Yeah. So he's got this show called Looking for a Fight where they go in and there's going to be a fight in Memphis that weekend. I think it's on Saturday. Well, Dana White goes into the city where they're going to have it, and then he will sign one of these fighters to the UFC contract. So he's going to be in Memphis on June the 15th, and he's going to bring 2. They're going to bring 2 UFC fighters out to a bar. No, that's going to be at my place later, but they're going to bring them to this gym in Cordova, Tennessee. It's a UFC gym. They're going to bring these guys out there, and I'm going to actually get in a ring with them and show them a few wrestling moves that I think I'm going to try to teach these guys and see if maybe they could do a pile driver during a UFC match. You think that could happen? Any kind of way? Yeah, sure. I would think. If you could get your opponent's head between your legs, you could pile drive the guy. So I'm going to show them during the show a couple of wrestling moves, and then later on that night, on June 15th, we're going to set up a ring outside the bar and grill on Beale Street and have 2 UFC fighters go against 2 wrestlers in that match. And it's all going to be for Dana White's Looking for a Fight TV show.
There we go. The king on UFC programming. You think you got to get permission to do that?
Permission from who? WWE?
Your employer.
My employer.
Oh, you're a freelancer, right? I mean, officially you're a freelancer, so you can do everything you want, right?
Oh, I'm actually officially under contract to the WWE.
Yeah, but don't you?
That's one of the things that we talked about before. A lot of people, I get this every week because, there are so many people that don't yet have the network. If you're listening out there, you definitely need the network. That all they see is Raw and SmackDown, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But all they see is Raw and SmackDown, and because I'm not on there every week, they think I'm not with the company anymore. They think that I'm not. Most people just think I'm completely retired and not doing anything since they don't see you on Raw and SmackDown. But that's not the case. I still am under contract just like I've always been since 1993, the exact same kind of contract. Never not been under contract to the WWE. And I just do different stuff now. Like I work mainly stuff on the network. JR's under the same type deal. They bring us out every now and then to do some special things like the greatest Royal Rumble over in Saudi Arabia, the Raw 25th anniversary, WrestleMania, host a Hall of Fame. Still do a lot of stuff, but the majority of it now is on the WWE network.
Do you know your next appearance for WWE, King?
Not yet, but I'm gonna talk to him sometime this week. Hopefully, maybe do something. SmackDown is coming to Memphis in June. And possibly, maybe I'll get to go down to the FedEx Forum and do something with them on SmackDown that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have a King's Court.
Another King's Court, and maybe not get kicked by Dolph Ziggler this time.
Do you know Jeff Jarrett was a guest on King's Court the night after he won the Intercontinental Championship? He was a guest on King's Court on Raw.
You're right. Exactly right.
With the roadie.
The Road Dog.
That was a great
But
episode.
man, let's talk about SmackDown for a minute. What about that's all over the news? SmackDown, it looks like, is going to go to Fox, the Fox network, with a 5-year contract at the rumored price of $1 billion.
And insert Austin Powers evil Dr. Evil laugh.
$1 billion, right?
King, okay. You know it on Twitter and social media. Everybody complains about the current product. They don't like the story.
No. Everybody does not complain.
Okay, not everybody, but a vast majority.
Just those, yeah. No. It's not the vast majority either.
Okay, a small amount of people.
There you go, a small amount of people. A very select few that are out there that probably have nothing better to do than live their life on social media. And that is really sad. But those are the people that complain. And I mean, if you've got nothing better to do in your life than spend time sitting down and typing out some kind of thing on your phone and getting on social media to complain about a wrestling show, man, you really do need to get a life. I mean, it's just
Well, the reason why I bring it up is because, all those naysayers should shut up now, because a wrestling show that they may not like or agree with or what's happening just sold for $1 billion to a major network.
Right.
And then Raw is going to get, reportedly, 3 times the amount when their new contract comes up next year from NBC Universal, which hosts the USA Network. So they're going to get 3 times the amount of money, and they're already getting millions and hundreds of millions of dollars already. Add in the $1 billion contract with Fox, which I think they're going to be on the actual Fox
network. Yeah, not one of the cable stations.
No. So you mix that in, and their net worth is over UFC. It's $4.4 billion. Vince McMahon is now worth $2.2 billion. I would say WWE is doing just fine.
I would say they are too. So to all of those naysayers out there, it's you got to eat your words because whatever they're doing is definitely working. You can't knock success. So there you go.
My question, and I'm playing devil's advocate here, King. The ratings aren't as high as it was in the Attitude Era, obviously. Wrestling, TV is, because of social media and YouTube and all these different platforms, there's different ways other than clicking every Monday or Tuesday night to watch Raw and SmackDown on the TV. But,
right.
I mean, obviously Fox and USA Network, and they know the popularity. They know the millions of people that watch the show every week, all the advertising possibilities. That's because they're throwing a ton of money at these shows. But if you're WWE and you're getting this contract for $1 billion, does that mean you could sit complacent with what you put out there as a product, or does this make you work harder?
Oh, I'll know this for a fact that it will make Vince McMahon, Stephanie McMahon, Triple H, it will make all of those people work harder, and they in turn will make the writers work harder, and everybody that's in the company will work harder. These people, you just have to know them. They're not people that will rest on their laurels. They're not anybody that will ever say, hey, you know what? We got everything going smooth. Everything's going good. Let's just sit back and let it run its course. That's not the mindset of the people that run the WWE. It is constantly work harder, constantly make it better, and this is just like I don't know, start to say just another feather in the cap or another crown in the jewel for the company. But no, it will not make them sit back and say, let's enjoy our success and take it easy for a while. No, they'll definitely work harder.
My follow-up question to this, now that SmackDown is probably going to Fox Network, and it's reportedly going to be Friday nights, so we're going to back to Friday Night SmackDown on Fox. that has a bigger audience potential than a cable station like USA Network. Does that mean that SmackDown will now be the A show when it comes to being compared to Raw?
Well, it's a good possibility, because like you said, it's there'll be a ton of more people out there now that if it is, and we're doing a lot of talking here that we probably don't know all the facts yet.
Yeah.
It's going to be bought. They're talking about it being bought by Fox, but we don't know yet if it is going to be actually on the Fox network, which is like over the air broadcasting that a lot of people that can't afford cable or have cut the cord with cable, it'll be available to all of those people. So, it could be, if that's the case, it could generate or have the potential to generate a lot more viewers than the show that is on cable. So yeah, it could become. I love the fact that the first person I saw, and this guy's so good. I love the Miz. The first person I saw taking credit for the fact that SmackDown is going to be a $1 billion company. It was the Miz. He tweeted out, Miz moves to SmackDown. All of a sudden, SmackDown gets sold for $1 billion to Fox Network. So that's cool. I mean, and then I saw on TV, I get who was Elias, I think was claiming responsibility for the success of this big $1 billion deal as well. But I think it's possibility that SmackDown could become the number one show.
I know we're different times, but I know, Raw is, I'm Vince's baby. Well, WWE is Vince's baby, but Raw, yes. That's Monday Night Raw. That's a staple. That's the cornerstone program for WWE. It'd be weird to call SmackDown the A show just because it's on the Fox network and more viewers, and you want to put out not the better product, but you want to put out your biggest stars to the most eyes available. So I'm sure Rousey and Roman Reigns and Lesnar will probably be featured on SmackDown. But my thinking, and this is obviously just me thinking, ending the brand split and having guys on both shows. That way, if they see someone on SmackDown, they can tune into Raw on Monday and see the same person if they want, and have more eyes go to both shows in the same week.
Yeah, well, once again, it's what I said a while ago. They're not going to rest on their laurels, and I don't think that, probably us talking about the A show and the B show and all this kind of stuff is more in the minds of the fans than it is Vince McMahon, I think. Vince McMahon looks at I think Vince looks at the entire product, the WWE, as that's the A product, and it's not divided down into Raw or SmackDown. I think Vince wants both of those shows to be as successful as they possibly can be, and I don't think it's going to matter to him whether one's considered the A show or the B show. But then we already have seen the fact that they're already crossing over the talent on the pay-per-view, so that I think there's a good possibility that if something like that happens, where one of the shows is on on regular over-the-air networks rather than cable, that they may feature all of the WWE talent on that show.
And final question, King. Now that Vince is worth $2.2 billion, he's worth as much as Ted Turner. Could we see Vince riding off into the sunset with all the money in the bank, or does this mean that Vince is going to be sticking around a lot longer?
I honestly don't ever envision the day of Vince McMahon riding off into the sunset. He's just, and once again, this is my own personal opinion. He could all of a sudden say, "Hey, goodbye, everybody," and retire tomorrow. But I just don't see that happening. I just think that Vince truly loves what he does, and that's working 24 hours a day on making the WWE as successful as it can be.
I know he has the XFL, coming up in a couple of years, but I can't. If I'm Vince McMahon, and for the last, for decades of his life.
But you're not Vince McMahon. Nobody is.
I know, but I'm saying
nobody's like Vince McMahon.
Just imagine working every day, barely getting any sleep, and then all of a sudden that's gone. Like, what does a billionaire do?
What do you mean all of a sudden? What do you mean all of a sudden it's gone?
Because if you,
mean if you just said retired?
Yeah,
or whatever?
if you retired.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. What that's why I can't ever see that happening.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you, King. I don't think we'll ever see the end of Vince ever.
However, I do look out my condo door here and say, it seems like it would be nice to just be able to wake up in Florida every single day and not have anything that you have to, any meetings that you have to go to, any TV show that you have to do, any podcast or anything, that you could just do whatever you wanted. But you know what? That would probably get old in a matter of weeks or something, and then you'd be wishing that you were back doing something.
Can't forget the weekend before Labor Day in Chicago, we're going to be at Starrcast doing a live Dinner with the King show, and our special guest will be Terry Funk, and you and Terry King will be doing an empty arena match retrospective. Well, they'll have the match being played, and you guys provide your own commentary and talk about it. And I'm sure some fireworks will be going off, and information for that. I think there's still some tickets available for if you want to get in on the live podcast section, because there's a ton of great podcasts. Bruce Pritchard, Eric Bischoff, Cole Cabana, a ton of different people are going to be there doing live shows throughout the weekend at Starrcast, part of the All-In show on Saturday in Chicago.
And that thing has gotten a ton of publicity. It's going to be huge. And just our part that you're talking about, our podcast is, that's something that I can't tell you how much I'm looking forward to that, because that's one of the few things that's never been done before. Get Terry Funk and I in the same room, sitting together, showing the empty arena match, and the both of us talking about it, doing commentary on it at the same time. It's something that has never happened, and probably most people, including myself, thought it never would happen. So that is going to be exciting if that happens.
And there's other cool features. There's like different like little booths around in the vendor area. Like you can take a photo like you're in the heel locker room in Stamford, Connecticut. The backdrop for that, or you can do it like you're in the old WCW studio doing an interview with Tony Schiavone. But also you can call a match with Tony Schiavone.
Wow!
In a Starrcade. We
did that one time. We did that at
Access?
At one of the WrestleManias at Access. Yeah, we let fans call some matches with us.
So what? You're there. I'm going to be there all weekend. I know you're going to be there for a day. I think all day Friday. You leave Saturday. But while we're waiting for our panel to start, I want you and I to call a match. You and I.
You and I
are going to call a match. So we're going to do that. Well,
are you going to emulate JR, or are you going to be Glenn?
Maybe a mixture of both. I'll bring my cowboy hat. How about that?
There you go. Do that.
So we'll have a table too. We'll have a merch table. King will have some shirts. There's a lot of people tweeting pictures of all the King's new shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com. And
you sent me a tweet the other day. I forgot to tweet out the picture of my brain. Right?
Yeah. You forgot to do that.
And I forgot to tweet out the picture of my new shirts. Yeah. You wearing my new shirts.
You got to do that too. So look for that on the King's Twitter. It's just ProWrestlingTees.com.
You know what? I don't think Lauren got onto me about.
Oh, what?
Got onto me. We're not talking, not stroke wise or anything like that. She got mad. She I don't know what the word. Tried to discipline me. She got a little upset. Well, she wasn't upset, but she was just saying that she thought it didn't look right for me to wear a T-shirt with my own picture on it.
No,
that's just her opinion. I've done it before a million times. I was wearing one the other day, one of my new, the new pro wrestling T-shirts, and she said, "I don't know. I don't know if that looks right for you to be wearing a shirt with your own picture on it."
I think if
what do you think? We need to put that question out there.
I think
everybody on WWE, everybody, you get your own shirt. Everybody wears their own shirts.
You gotta plug your own merch, man. You gotta make that money.
Yeah, I guess.
I think.
Yeah. So if I'm out in public wearing a shirt with my picture on it, somebody might come up to me and say, "Man, I love that shirt. Where could I get one?" Yeah. And I could say, "Wrestling Tees."
I think you could. I think I agree with Lauren. I don't think you can wear like with your face on it, but I think you can wear the ones that says the King on it with your autograph. I think that's fine. But the ones.
Well, what about the one of Pro Wrestling Tees? One of my favorite ones is the well, there's two of my favorites. Is the black shirt with the white silhouette of my face on it, and it says King.
I like that one too, but I think I agree with Lauren. In public,
that's too much.
I think it's too much. You can wear like the one, the powder shirt. That's great, or where it just says the King.
Oh, I could wear the one with a big full-fledged photo of me.
No, that's too weird. I mean, I think you can wear like in the house, obviously when you're chilling, but I don't think you'd be in public wearing it. I think you need to wear like your brand, like the King, where it says the King with your autograph. Or the King is looking good, like a shirt that has text on it, or your autograph. That's fine, but with your face, I think. No,
I think the worst one for me to be wearing would be the one that says the King is looking good.
You wore that. You worn that one around back in the 80s.
I did.
Yeah, there was a King is looking good T-shirt.
Well, maybe if I was a heel, maybe if I was the bad guy King, that would be okay.
That's my favorite.
Yeah,
that's a favorite one. But no, King. ProWrestlingTees.com/Jerry Lawler is where you can find all your Jerry Lawler shirts on there, so you can buy your own, and you can wear a King's face on you.
Yeah.
And tweet a picture.
Yeah, absolutely. Tweet a picture. Should I still tweet the picture in my brain?
I think you should.
Okay.
So while you do that, let's get Jeff Jarrett on the line. For the first part of our two-part series with this man, he is now a two-time guest on the show. He was on earlier this year. He was just inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. You guys have a ton of history together, and I'm sure this podcast, this episode will go very, very long, but also the second one. So a lot of Memphis talk, a lot of WWE talk, but let's bring on Jeff Jarrett. Jeff, how are you today?
Hey guys, I appreciate you having me on, and let's just do this right off the bat. Let's save not this week. Let's go next week and talk about that Hall of Fame. Since that's topical right now, we'll talk about that Hall of Fame performance, because I got a funny story that I was in signing some autographs, and a guy tells me, "Hey man, that was great, blah blah blah," and he said, "Well, what about that performance?" And he said, "Oh, I love Lawler's comment after it was over." And I said, "What comment?" So,
oh no! Don't tell me you mean you had not heard what I said after you went on.
We'll save that till next week.
Somebody sent me a tweet the other day too, and said that, "Hey, did any of the wrestlers that were in the audience know that they were going to be singing karaoke that night?" And I don't think that anybody that you guys went up to knew that you guys were going to come up to them, did they?
No. It was sort of like back just softly, "Hey man," and I had a really cool conversation with Sting about, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, but we joked about it because he didn't have a clue. And a shocking, him one of many that didn't have a clue to the words of that song. Heck, and Brian couldn't even remember it.
Including you and Brian.
Oh, it was a lot of fun. So, the guys did not know.
I watched you guys rehearse it earlier in the day, and of course there was nobody in the audience. It's just a few. You guys went up to a few random, like stage hands and people that were, kind of in the crew, and kind of tried to get them to sing, and they were all very embarrassed. So I knew that when it happened that night, that nobody knew that, and you guys obviously didn't know who you were going to go up to either, right?
Correct. I mean, it was so off the cuff, and it was funny. From a production point of view, me and Brian and others obviously were involved in it, and they were like, "Hey, do we just play just the track with no vocals?" Jerry, I screamed, "No, heck no, we don't do that." I said, "It's going to be more difficult." And I said, I knew going in, I just knew it was going to be real emotional to me to begin with. And then to try to sing that song, Brian sings 3 octaves above what I sing. So it's always been hard to sing along with him. And then I said, "You've got to have the vocals." So thank God we had the vocals. But it was one of those. It was a good train wreck to watch. I watched it back, so it was a train wreck, all right. It was all over the place, but no. A guy, literally, Jerry, I was signing autographs, and the guy just had the biggest grin on his face, and he was talking about the Hall of Fame, and he said, "Yeah, man, I love what Lawler said right after it." And I said, "Huh?"
Well, I'll tell you something right now that I probably shouldn't tell. And he probably wouldn't want me to tell or whatever, but Vince himself gave me that line.
WWE Hall of Fame induction ceremony.
Well, we did just receive a call during that last break from the Country Music Hall of Fame. And they said that Brian James and Jeff Jarrett are barred for life. Anyway, now it's time.
Oh my God! Well, now
so that shows you that he was actually paying attention to what you guys were doing out there.
Well, we got thumbs up. We got a lot of thumbs up after it was over. So, and I don't. Well, Brian actually said this. I said, yeah, whatever. After, and he said, yeah, we got a lot of thumbs up. Got all that. And I said, I damn sure wasn't about our performance. And he said, he said it on stage. He said, Jesus, I knew that song was long, but my God. And anyway,
it did. It did seem like it lasted forever.
Well, and the thing is, it's a non-traditional. Some of my country music buddies, we've talked. I mean, when they hear it, you know, and this going back over the last 10, 15 years, the guys that I've played it for, or they've seen it, or we'll be out and they'll bring up that YouTube video and they're like, dude, I had no idea you could sing like this. And I said, hey, me neither. That would be always my line. But the song is so non-traditional. It's got a chorus with a male lead and then the backup singers. And then, my God, it's got 3 full verses and then a bridge. I mean, it goes on. It's 4.5 minutes, and that's definitely not radio play. Jerry, you know your music. You've done
right.
You've done your albums. You know enough.
You guys go down and maybe how many people have actually taken the opportunity as they were being nominated or inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame to sing a song? I know, didn't Michael Hayes? Michael Hayes
did it. Yeah,
I heard. I think, and I may be off, but I think Michael was the only one. If I've got the correct information.
He's the only one that I can remember.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, and Brian and just the whole deal. But yeah, we're sitting here talking about the train wreck, so it was a good train wreck.
and I think you also prefaced this by saying we'll talk about this next week, right? But now,
well, we're gonna have to push that.
Right. And now I don't remember what the comment was. We're gonna wait till next week to find out what the comment was that I said after your performance, right?
That you said, yes. That's that's the cliffhanger. So folks, tune in next week. or you can find it somewhere out there on the WWE Network. But no, yes. It was good. I wish I had a camera on my face because the way the guy came up and was getting autographs, and he actually had a Hall of Fame thing of me and Brian. I don't know where he got it, but I was signing that, and it's like I stopped in my tracks and I just looked up and I said, "Huh? What are you talking about?" He said,
"What did you say?"
I said, "I have no idea what you're talking about." He said, "When y'all cleared the stage, Jerry came back out to keep the show going." His comment, and I go, "Oh." Let me, because I knew right then. I said, "Oh, I bet he burned us a new one."
We'll save that till next week. But listen, hey, welcome to the show, and we got a lot of stuff to talk about this week, I'm sure. And what has it been like since you did the Hall of Fame and have been inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame? I'm sure that's. At least I know back in my situation, it added a lot of immediate interest and a lot of bookings. Has it helped in getting you people asking you to be places to sign and make appearances?
Well, I told Karen this. When it was announced in late February, I knew it would be big, and I knew that there would be press out of it. And then the snowball just took off. I mean, it was, not just here, I mean, all over the world.
All over, yeah, absolutely.
It's just crazy. I mean, the Tennessee and the Nashville-based paper, they ran a big story on it, and just one thing after another. But afterwards, again, I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, the promoters said, "Hey, will you come to the UK?" And so I'm going to the UK for a 4-day tour. And you can relate, Jerry. I don't have to put on wrestling tights. I'm London, Cardiff, Sheffield, and Edinburgh, a 4-day tour in the UK. But yeah, I mean the appearances and the bookings, and I'm going to 4 or 5 minor league baseball games to throw out the first pitch and do the autographs and do that kind of stuff. So it's and I've said it couple of years ago, wrestling it's no longer is it mainstream. It's silly to even ask that nowadays. Yes, it's mainstream, and the Hall of Fame is a part of that mainstream. And so the bookings and the appearances and here in Nashville, working with the Visitors Bureau and the NFL Hall of Fame and all that. Just that not the Hall of Fame, the NFL draft coming up. Mm-hmm. Just the board that's working with those guys. They called me, and we've got some things lined up to do that. But yes, the short answer is, Jerry, yes, the bookings and the appearances and everything that go with that. It's pretty amazing. It really is.
Boy, what that just thing that you just mentioned, that's big news right now. The NFL draft is going to be in Nashville, Tennessee. That's huge, isn't it?
Well, Jerry, and that's where you've come to Nashville and you've lived. I'm actually sitting in my office, Jerry, and I'm looking. I can see your old house, the old lot, which is bizarre. Yes, and I think I've shared with this, but where I'm sitting and the lot I live on, the house I live in, I'm looking directly across the lake at your old place.
I was on Saunders Ferry Road there in Hendersonville, and right down the street, Conway Twitty's house was right down the street, and you're across.
Across the water.
Well, Old Hickory Lake is a huge lake there in Hendersonville, but you're across where you can see my what was. I understand that the house, the house itself that I lived in, has been torn down and another house built there, right?
Yeah. I don't know if you remember I cut that grass one time, all kidding aside, that I drove the tractor from Old Man. Do you remember that? Well, Glenn,
gosh, listen, you got in trouble. You got in trouble and your dad, Jerry, made you come over and cut my grass.
Yes. Glenn, I'm sorry. We really took a left turn. We're not talking now. We're about talking NFL draft, Nashville, and grass cutting at Jerry Lawler's. But no, but you actually asked the question. Boy, I can see the headline now. Jarrett cuts Lawler's grass. But anyway, no.
What did you do? Your dad thought that you did something that showed disrespect to me.
Or something. Yes. And I
swear, trust me, this was all your dad. I mean, I didn't even think a thing about it. I swear I didn't. And I told him, "What are you talking about?" But your dad really took exception. What was it that you did? Do you remember?
God, it was totally disrespect. But do you remember? The thing that I'll never. I mean, it's one thing a kid get on a tractor and drive. I mean, and hey, folks out there listening, it's not like a couple of houses down. It was about probably 4, 5, 6 mile tractor ride, cut the grass and come back home.
Well, I had a little over an acre. I had a little over an acre lot around, and I had a boat dock that led right up on Old Hickory Lake. It was a couple hours.
Yes.
To cut that thing. Yeah.
Yes. But no, here's the thing I remember of that is I had to drive 222 miles.
Yes.
From Hendersonville to Walnut Grove, walk in, apologize, and I think there was some kind of money. And you're like, I'm not. There was something that you were like, Jeff, stop.
I don't remember. I remember something in general, but I don't remember the details. But
yeah. Oh man,
it was embarrassing to me, and I know it was to you as well.
He was livid. Whatever it was, I just remember he was livid. And but wow, how the hell? Oh no, I know, because we're talking about me. Yeah, how'd we get up on that? But no. The Nashville, it's amazing, and what's cool about this is, and Jerry, I don't know if you know this bit of information, but next year is the 100th anniversary. No, is it the 100th or 75th or 50th anniversary? What's the anniversary coming up next year for the NFL? It's some kind of big anniversary of the league. And Glenn, maybe you can Google that while we're talking. But anyway, here locally, behind the scenes, everyone thought that Canton/Cleveland was going to get the draft next year.
Yes, exactly. Because it made sense.
Yes, made total sense. And the Titans, they have owned this town really since they came to town. And then with the Preds and all that, it's really, really, it used to be a college sports town. Now it's not. Now it's the Preds and Titans. But we did the veiling of the New Jerseys, and Florida-Georgia line played downtown, and they had 30 or 40,000 people and all that. So we were awarded that, and it's just, wow. I mean, is
when did
really
when did they make the announcement that it was going to be in Nashville?
Well, it's been Darren Ravel or one of those guys last week, more or less, let the cat out of the bag. But officially, it was announced today. Man. It was officially announced today. So amazing. I mean, it's crazy, man. It is really, that's such a big event, and Nashville.
It is amazing how big it has become. I mean, I can remember. It doesn't seem like that many years ago that it wasn't a big deal. But they have made it into a huge deal now.
In the NFL, they're Vince and the WWE always in front of the curve. I mean, the NFL is a master. They're in the headline. They have headlines 12 months out of the year, and they supposedly the rumor mill is when we did how many times do teams come out with new jerseys and new looks and all that? Well, Nashville put a stage up downtown, and Florida Georgia Line is an A act. Got them to play, and they had a huge party down there. And all they really did was unveil some new jerseys. But they had the players come up on stage and throw out jerseys and throw out footballs and just made a big party out of it. And God, it's just such goodwill. I mean, the Preds are masters of that in this town, and I know the Grizzlies down there, their marketing is top notch. So the NFL, they definitely know what they're doing.
The people in Memphis are, they won't admit it, but really are so jealous of the direction that things have taken in the state of Tennessee. Memphis was always the number one city in Tennessee. Memphis was the biggest city in Tennessee. Shelby County was the biggest county in Tennessee. And for years and years and years, we thought that Memphis was going to be the city that got the next NFL franchise when they expanded. We would host every year. We'd have to host a preseason game. We'd have to sell it out at our stadium. And then all of a sudden, Nashville was never even really talked about in those expansion talks and everything. And then all of a sudden, boom, everybody in Memphis is waiting for a team, and boom, the announcement's made that it's going to Nashville. And that seemed like that was the beginning of the progression of Nashville. You guys just all of a sudden blew right by Memphis. I mean, Nashville's the biggest, the biggest county, Davidson County there. It's just, you got the NHL, you got the NFL. It's just amazing the things that have happened in Nashville. Everybody's talking about wanting to be a part of Nashville and moving there. That's going to be your only problem is all this good publicity is going to bring so many people in. I remember this happening down in Austin, Texas. The first thing that it kills is the traffic situation. And I understand in Nashville, it's already gotten bad, hasn't it?
Yep. Oh, it's brutal. Like they're doing the airport expansion. And, as we travel so much, and I was waiting on my bags, and he was talking about it'll be done in 2023. And I'm like, oh, my God, it's going to be a nightmare at the airport. But traffic all around town is already a nightmare. I used to leave my desk back when we started TNA, so from 2002 to 2009. But I remember I would be at my desk, and if I left, I could be from my desk to my house in 30 minutes. Now it's an hour and 15, hour and 20 if you get caught in rush hour. It's just
the roads just weren't designed for this kind of traffic now. The amount of traffic that's there now.
And Jared, the other thing when you talk about Nashville is that a lot of people, when you compare Nashville and Memphis, and Nashville industry, we've got Nissan headquarters and all that. But when you dial down music, I mean, Memphis, Elvis. I mean, music. They had Elvis.
Memphis was known for music, but not anymore. Now it's Nashville music city.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, Nashville always had country and western. That's the only thing it was really known for. But now it's the CMA Music Festival and just everything wrapped around that. And you almost Memphis, Beale Street and the blues and Elvis and all that. It had it, but now you don't even think of Memphis as music. So yeah, Nashville has exploded, and the NFL draft is front centered. And since we're on a wrestling podcast, I'm hoping, and I, as a wrestling fan, not as a talent, and certainly not as a promoter, but what a place for WrestleMania to take place. We have the stadium right on one side of the river, just right on the other side. Raw and SmackDown have been in Bridgestone Arena. We've got the Music City Center, which is state of the art, which is could hold 10 versions of Access. And our hotel situation has just now caught up to speed. And by 2019, 2020, I don't know how many rooms are coming online, but we can hold conventions, and Nashville could be ready. So I'd love to see a Royal Rumble or a SummerSlam come to town in the next year or so, and certainly get in line to do a Mania. It'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Except for the fact that all of your friends that you hadn't heard from for years would be coming out of the woodwork asking you for free tickets.
That happens.
And they don't even ask for 1 or 2 free tickets anymore. They ask for 8 and 10 at a time.
Yeah, and well, you can relate. It's the old, hey man, I hate to ask you this. Well, then don't.
Exactly.
Then don't.
Everybody starts off that way. Man, I really hate to do this, especially like you're sitting and eating, having dinner or something. Just walk up there. I really hate to bother you, as I'm like you, I say, but you're going to anyway, right?
Yeah, and the thing was, and this happened going to New Orleans. Hey, you wouldn't happen to know where I could get any free tickets? I'm like, happen to know? Well, no, I'm just headed down there. The free ticket line's all out, but you can go buy them.
Right.
Oh yeah. You gotta love it.
They're only selling for $2,000. The free ticket line is probably right over there somewhere.
Yeah. Jesus. Glenn, we hadn't talked to any wrestling. Are you okay with that?
I'm totally okay with it. Well, it's you asked me to do Google.
Let me say this real quick, Glenn. I'm still I'm racking my brain, and I'm listening to you talk about the NFL draft, Jeff, and all of this stuff, but we have got to get to the bottom of what happened, because I had completely forgotten about that until today. What happened that made your dad send you all the way down to Memphis to apologize and made you cut my grass? It's driving me nuts now to remember what happened.
It was the theme would be disrespecting not only a friend of the family, not only a business partner, but the star of the the main event. You better show some respect. I know it was respect, and I disrespected you, but I can't remember the.
I can't.
Glenn, call the old man up and let's get him in on here.
I bet Jerry remembers that. Has Jerry started his podcast?
Oh
yet,
man. I have no idea. I just heard about it about a week ago, I guess. Somebody asked me, and I said, I'll be honest, I don't have any information on that. But
I don't know if he started it yet or not. I've seen on Twitter some things about it. He may have already started.
Yeah,
but I don't think it started. I think it's in a few weeks. It's going to have its first episode.
Oh, okay.
So,
well, he'll certainly have some good stories.
Really quick,
yep.
Jeff. It's the 100th anniversary of the NFL.
That's why, because the guys here in town, we were talking, and it was, I'm just like, oh wow, Canton is the perfect place, and the remodel job up there, and Cleveland with Baker Mayfield, it felt like, yeah, it's going there next year. Cleveland's got a lot of momentum. I'd love, the ownership's a Tennessee guy. I'd love nothing more. Obviously, I'm not a Cleveland Brown fan, but man, they have you guys have, it's been since the Bernie Kosar days that you guys have had a run. I'd love to see something happen. But yeah, I just thought the 100th anniversary, that the draft is a natural, that how the league's grown. So
well, what? Speaking of talking about Canton, Ohio, that was one of, I guess, one of the things that I was. I don't want to say most disappointed, but I was fairly disappointed when I saw and actually went to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the NFL Hall of Fame in Canton. It's so tiny, it's so small. Canton itself is a small city, yep. And the little stadium that they play the Hall of Fame game in is like a high school stadium.
Yep.
And so I think that that was probably part of the reason, and no fault of Canton and everything, but I mean, that's where it all originated and everything, but it's still a kind of a small deal. And the draft and everything has gotten so big and brings in so many people. I don't know if Canton would have been able to of course Cleveland, but Canton is, how far, Glenn, is Canton from Cleveland? 50 miles?
It's about 50 miles. Yeah. But Canton they have added a lot more space to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. There's a lot more different wings, and they actually renovated the stadium. They added more seats. It's a lot more up to code, up to technology nowadays. So the stadium is a lot bigger. So,
and I'm not on the outside, but I am well aware of, because I've been at dinner tables here in these discussions. It's hotel rooms.
There you go.
It is a huge thing, and down at Jerry's World, God, the amount of people that came in for that thing, it's big business, and that's one thing that I know. 2 to 3 years ago, Nashville, because, like our roads aren't ready and there's constantly construction, there's more cranes in Nashville than there've ever been, and we can't build hotels fast enough. And that started a couple years ago, but now we're about there, and in some aspects we already are there. But there's still going to be 4 or 5 hotels that are going to be coming online in the next 12 to 18 months in Nashville, which will. Here's a little crazy fact, Jerry. Nashville's more expensive per night hotel rooms than New York City, and it's because of supply and demand. And that's what's So anyway, enough NFL draft. Damn, Glenn.
Well, here's my first question to open up the discussion for Memphis Wrestling, and King and I talked about it before we had you on, Jeff. But do you remember your first TV interview in Memphis?
Well, before I get into that, I do want to clarify. No, I did not weed eat. I only cut Jerry's grass. There was no weed eating involved. My first interview.
Well, wait a minute. What was the deal? What grass did you cut? The grass in Hendersonville or Memphis?
Hendersonville. See what I had. I remember.
Did I already have a house in Memphis too?
Oh God, yeah. You'd been down there for years. You were trying to sell it up here.
Oh, okay.
I think you were trying to. I don't know what it was, but I know that I had to drive to your house as well. I had to drive to your house 220 miles and apologize face to face. But no, you hadn't sold the place up here, but you were about to. That's why there was nobody living in it.
Oh, I got
it. It didn't have to have a nice manicure. Just go cut the crap down. So that's what I did. My very first interview, boy, what a real piece of work. It's everything not to do in a professional wrestling interview. But do I remember my first one? Is that the clip that's on Twitter now, or is it the one that was when I read the poem "Don't Quit"? That's what I don't know. Glenn, which one are you asking?
That was a tough one. The "Don't Quit" one, wasn't it?
Woo!
When you watch it back, are you?
Oh my God!
Do you cringe when you watch that back?
I mean, yes, I know I'm a hillbilly and got a Southern accent. But a slow, drawn-out 18-year-old kid, nervous as hell. Oh my, cringe ain't the word.
Oh,
I think you put on Twitter, "Wow, from Memphis to the Hall of Fame." I think.
What that was when that was like your first interview on the Jerry Lawler Show, and that was just you answering a question. That wasn't the poem. That was just you answering a question, and it may have been one of the first ones that you did, but it wasn't the first one that you did on the wrestling show.
Yeah, exactly. It's all within the same calendar year, and they were both terrible. So, but Glenn, your question is, do I remember that interview that I did right after the first angle? Is that what you're asking, Glenn?
I'm referencing the Jerry Lawler Show, answering the question.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I saw that.
But nobody remembers what they did on the Jerry Lawler Show. Trust me.
No, I do remember it. I remember it, and I could just remember it was just me and Randy West, my uncle, and a black, or a backdrop or whatever it is, and a microphone. And I would look at the piece of paper. This is a question I got to answer. And
yeah, I think we shot that probably at the Coliseum on Monday night.
On Monday night, that was Saturday. And I can remember we would be in that back room, and Randy would always get, Louisville, whatever the interviews were, the Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday interviews, and anything else that needed to be done, he'd get those done. Then we would do that. And so I most of the time I would be, Randy would say, "Come back and answer these." And so, yes, I remember it. And it's like.
And the question, Glenn, I'm sure you're probably going to play the clip here in a second of what Jeff said, but the question was something like, do you think that your lack of size is going to affect you in the wrestling business? I'm thinking, what a mean question for some girl to ask you, right?
And it's time for our viewer mail segment. And our letter this week came from Kathy Hester, who lives out in Germantown. She had a question for Jeff Jarrett. Since Jeff wrestled last week, kind of started wrestling, she was wondering if Jeff's size, which at the time, right now, everybody realizes he's a little on the small side, if she wondered if that size, lack of size, is going to be a disadvantage for Jeff. And here he is to answer that for you.
Well, thank you, Jerry, for having me on the show today. And thank you, Kathy, for taking an interest in writing in this show. Yes, I think my size right now is going to be a disadvantage because all the other men in wrestling, they're weigh well over 200 pounds, and right now, I'm right at that mark, a little under. But my dad, he's got me lifting weights every day, and I'm eating good, real good every day, and I hope in the years to come, hopefully the months to come, that I'll be getting bigger, and I can use my size will become just maybe an advantage, but right now it's a disadvantage, and I'm going to be trying and having to use my brain a little bit and not use my body as much. I'm going to try to outsmart them. And thank you, Kathy, for taking an interest in me, and thank you, Jerry, for having me on your show.
Yep, the hard-hitting questions are always probed. It's 60 Minutes and the Jerry Lawler Show on Sunday mornings. But yes,
exactly.
but when I think back on that, all kidding aside, that is really how guys are. Now, guys, you sort of learn to do promos. You just no net, jump out there and talk. Because there certainly wasn't a script. It was, here's a question that wasn't really easy for an 18-year-old kid who weighed about 180 pounds to answer. All seriously, you just got to answer it. And
I don't think you weighed 180 at that point yet.
Exactly. But, it's not easy to answer, and that's sort of how you learn to deliver. I don't even want to call it a promo, but you at least learn. So
sure, absolutely.
And I think back all the small little bitty radio stations that I would pull into, Boonville, just the little bitty towns all around that we'd do radio. That's another way that you just learn to communicate and learn to talk and learn to, talk about the wrestling without screaming or hollering or trying to do a quote unquote promo.
And the cool thing you're talking about there was we would set our camera and crew, like you said, Randy West and those guys would set up on Monday night. And then Lance would come back there and interview everybody, do your interviews for Louisville or for Evansville or for Nashville or all the other cities that were going to be in that week. But the cool thing about that was, and you'll remember, Jeff, that part wasn't live. So if you screwed that up, you'd get a redo. And we did screw up a lot of interviews back then. Do you remember? There were some great bloopers, and
yes,
certain guys just would really have trouble. I remember Bobby Fulton was one that Bobby would really have trouble, and just, man, we'd have to do 10 or 15 takes sometimes on certain interviews.
Yeah, and the things that I always remember would be a guy like you or Idol or whoever was really going to sell the tickets, that Lance would call us in and I would go first, and you literally sometimes would have to stand there for 15 minutes and never get to you. And so, because I would screw up. And then, Lord.
Start over, right?
Start over. Randy West would say, hey, I better re-rack. I'm about running out of tape. It's no digital. So he'd re-rack it to the beginning, and here we go again and start. And then this is something that sort of dawned on me when I was standing on the stage at the Hall of Fame speech. It's easy to give a promo to, 200 or 2,000 or 20,000 fans in an arena, because it's a part of performing. But when you're talking to your peers that are 5 feet away from you, that adds a whole nother element. Well, relate that over to a small room in the back of the Mid-South Coliseum on a Monday afternoon when the show starts in an hour. Half the people in the room are aggravated or don't want to be there, or it's hot back there or whatever, and you want to get through it and get it done, and you got to get it done. And then a young guy like me just keeps screwing up. And then you would get tickled about something, which makes it even worse. It was a lot of pressure. It was a lot. I can remember Billy Travis, God rest his soul.
Oh,
God Almighty! I wasn't a good promo, but my God, he would just stammer over things, and Lance would have the look on his face like, "All righty then, let's keep moving." Anyway, those are fun.
Yeah, it really was. What do you want us to talk about first, Glenn? Our Memphis days, or?
Well, here's a question for both of you, and I asked you this question, before we started recording, and you guys are kind of surprised by the answer I gave. But you guys are 4-time USWA World Tag Team Champions, and I think you guys were surprised that you guys actually held the titles 4 separate times.
And that was probably all in 1 month.
Well, the first times you guys beat the Fabulous Ones back in 1991 and February 4th, 91 against the Fabulous Ones. You guys won the title, and you held it for a month and a half. And it says here the Texas Hangmen defeated Jeff Jarrett and Eddie Gilbert. So Eddie Gilbert was teamed with you, Jeff, for this match. And then you guys had a back and forth with the Moondogs.
There you go. Now
92.
There's some matches that I definitely remember, don't you, Jeff?
Feud of the year, 1991. Dave Meltzer, Observer. We were the Feud of the year, but no, I do remember it well. I remember those. I actually posted on my Instagram going through the years leading up to the Hall of Fame, and it was hardcore wrestling before it was really called hardcore. And that feud was, it was just part of the ring crew that Eddie Marlin or Paul Neighbors or whoever's pulling the ring would roll into town, set up the ring, and then get in the car and go to a hardware store and come back with 1x6 boards. Literally 1x6 boards, trash cans, and a couple of cookie sheets and a couple other things, and that was just part of it. God, yeah. And
I remember one time, I think it was in Kennett, Missouri, that Buddy Wayne was, of course, the promoter up in Kennett, and I believe it was Buddy Wayne. Maybe Eddie had already taken over, but we got back in the concession stand there, and I believe it was you or one of the Moondogs, but somebody had a long mop or something, and anyway busted out some of the light. But when you were swinging, it busted out some of the fluorescent lights up in the top of the ceiling or something. You remember that?
Jared, you know how I do remember that. You probably don't, but I'll tell you.
We got in trouble. I know that.
Got in trouble, and to this day, you can look on my left shoulder, and there's a scar because that light shattered, but it turned like a Coke bottle and came straight down and cut my shoulder open. And to this day, I can show you the scar right now. If any fan out there hears this podcast, I'll know that you were listening very carefully. If you come up and say, "Hey, do you have a scar on your left shoulder from the Moondogs?" Yes, I remember it well. But we did that concession stand brawl, and it popped. It really, people really got into that. And Moondogs every Saturday morning would beat the hell out of guys on TV. It was
would they ever?
And
Larry Latham. Larry Latham. Yes. I mean, he had no sympathy on anybody. I mean, it's funny. It seemed like all of his partners, the different partners that Larry ever had, Larry Booker, Larry Latham, whatever you want to call him, but it seemed like they always had some degree of sympathy for their opponents, but Larry never did. I mean, he just wanted to, like you said, just totally beat the hell out of the job guys or whoever enhancement talent they'd like to call it now. But the poor guys that we threw in there against him on Saturday mornings, he would just beat them unmercifully.
Man, he would light them up. It got over, I'll say that, but good God Almighty, I don't.
One of my favorite stories, or not one of my favorite pictures, actually, a photograph that we used to say, these guys will hit you with everything but the kitchen sink. And then one night at the Coliseum, they brought a big kitchen sink, a big double kitchen sink to the ring, and they hit us with that. So they would hit you with everything, including the kitchen sink.
Yep, and there was a time there during that run where and Tom Pritchard's the one who classified this term, is that I was having trouble finding some partners. There was an era, and I don't know if you were probably in a singles program. And so I was, I had Robert Fuller, and Robert Fuller sort of eased on out of that program. And Tom said he's got a bad case of moondogitis. And that was that was when an opponent, one of my partners, just didn't quite feeling going to the ring, taking a shellacking. And me and Larry always, I don't say we always got along, but we did. We respect each other because, he he'd let me hit him as hard as.
No problem with that. You could just haul off and do absolutely anything that you could do to Larry, and you would never complain, never.
You know, the only person that I hit harder, I couldn't hit any harder. I tried to hit Larry as hard as I possibly could, and Larry would feel it. But the only person that I had to, he made me laugh, and you'll love this, but I hit Gypsy Joe one night as hard as I could in the back, because that's how he was giving me back shots. And he laughed at me when I hit him as hard as I could with a chair shot. And he turned around and says, "Hit me in the head."
Yeah.
And I'm
same
like,
way, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I hit him with the chair on the head. He does it was classic goofy gypsy bump. And a couple of minutes later, he comes up behind me and spins me around. He said, "This is how you hit." And he chopped my chest so hard. Oh my God! I thought he was going to cave in. So
yeah. He's one of one of my all-time favorite mask guys. I think I told this to Glenn.
Yep.
Maybe something about it last week. But when he wrestled as the Blue Inferno, when I was just a kid going to the matches with my dad, that's the team, the Blue Infernos, which was Gypsy Joe and Frank Hester. Those two, not Frank Hester. Gypsy Joe and Frank Morale.
Pepper. No, I don't know.
No, that was Pepper. No. Oh man, Frank Martinez. It was Frank Martinez. Gypsy Joe and Frank Martinez as the Blue Infernos. Without those two guys, I probably really would have never wanted to be in wrestling. It was just watching those two guys and being enamored with them is what made me want to try it. You know.
Yeah. Oh, Jipper, great guy.
And then later on, I mean, he stayed in the business probably until he was 70, going out and getting hit like that. He was famous for going to Japan and just letting the Japanese wrestlers beat him to a pulp. And the people just they would pay money every time he would go over there just to see how bad, what kind of beating Gypsy Joe could withstand. He was amazing.
It was amazing. And what was cool was he came to a show in Nashville a couple of years ago, and I got the opportunity to introduce Karen to him. And you know, Gypsy, he not long after that, I think within the year, he passed away. But even in his final years, his memory, I think Gypsy may be one of the only human beings that is completely immune to CTE, because he definitely had more headshots. And on a serious note, I mean, it was a different era, obviously, but the headshots that he absorbed over the years are inhuman. Because just like what you said, in the Tennessee territory is one thing. Over in Japan, completely different deal. He withstood it. So
well, one of the things also that made me really be fond of Gypsy Joe in the beginning was the fact that when my dad and I were going to the matches, this was at the Ellis Auditorium at the time, we had this one little group of box seats that were kind of close to, well, they were right behind ringside. And it cost $2.50 for one of those tickets, which was at that time a lot, you know. So anyway, Gypsy Joe was married at the time to an absolutely stunning young lady, and she would come to the matches with him from Nashville every week, and she would sit in the box right next to ours. And she tried to keep it secret, but then somehow after a few weeks, the word got out that she was married to Gypsy Joe. And that made me an even bigger fan to see the kind of woman that he attracted as his wife at the time. I just thought, man, this guy's got to be awesome. I mean, what a lovely young lady he had that he was married to at the time.
Yeah, and boy, we're getting on a tangent on Gypsy, but man, I love the guy. The love story. He had another ring name that, if you can recall, I know it was because he was a handsome guy back in his early days, but he was the creative, the booker, whatever you call it, in Oak Hill, West Virginia, and they had TV there. And the story was that it would come on the air on Saturday nights at 10 o'clock or whatever the time frame was. But the out of the show sometimes would be at 11:10, 11:20, 10:55. Whenever they got done, they went off the air. And when they went off the air, the station signed off the air for the night. And so they didn't have an out. And so Yeah, Gypsy did a lot in this industry, going way, way back. But yeah, he was a booker and a top talent, and drew money in his prime everywhere.
One of the things that used to make me mad, go back to the Blue Inferno days, Nick Goulas used this place called Star Printing in Nashville to print the programs every week, and I don't know why, but for some reason. I guess it was just not one of the top things on their priority list, but they would, whenever Nick would book a tag team like the Blue Inferno, they would just throw any random picture of two masked wrestlers in there, right? Now
Yes.
they had a real picture of the Blue Infernos, every now and then they would use it, but then like every other week, they would throw up it would say, the Blue Infernos face Jackie and Roughhouse Fargo, and it wouldn't be the Blue Infernos picture. And that would make me so freaking mad every week that they didn't take enough time to actually use their real picture in the programs.
And I'm sure an artist's mind like yours, you're like, damn, I can draw a better picture than this crap
Exactly.
of the real Blue Inferno.
Right. And I did. That's one of the guys that I drew. Wound up drawing some pictures for his wife of Gypsy Joe. Of course, I had no idea that it was Gypsy Joe, and I don't even think he was using that name at that time. It was just he was just the Blue Inferno to me. But let's go back to talk a little bit more about the Moondogs and that how long did that feud last with those guys? Long time, right?
Yeah, gosh. I mean, I think me and you kicked it off for the concession stand deal, and truth be known, you'd probably had enough of that crap. But no, you went into a singles program, and it was me and Robert Fuller, me and Tom Pritchard. I ran through several partners because, and it's so hard to today's wrestling and today's fan that really doesn't know the history. It's really hard to relate, but we had the weekly territory. And I can remember, specifically remember, even when the program was definitely winding down, because Nashville was every Saturday, Louisville every Tuesday, Evansville every Wednesday. That was our weekly. But in the spot shows, Eddie and Buddy Wayne they would flat out say, no, let's put the Moondogs and Jeff and a partner in this spot show because it was drawing.
Sure.
The people wanted to see because they were on TV for well over a year every Saturday morning, beating the crap out of people, and the old saying, there's a lot of phony stuff, but damn, that stuff's real.
Well, you know what you said too, that you went through some partners. Did Larry go through some different partners during that same time? I know we had Cujo. We had, of course, Larry was Spot. We had
Bill
Cujo.
Smith. Yep, Spot and people know him as Cousin Junior, Danny.
Yep.
Landy, he came in, Cujo, but we had Bill Smithson, and he was Spot and Spike.
Yep.
He was the majority, and Spike, he just said, hey, I got to go back home and chill, and he took some time off, and that's when he brought Cujo in. And then, I don't know if you remember this, but I'd love to be sitting beside you just to see the smile on your face, because we had a lot of fun with this guy, but they were the Moondogs, and then we brought in the Big Black Dog.
Big Black Dog, of course. I was just watching that on YouTube the other day, and there was an episode where he kissed Miss Texas.
Well, the Big Black Dog didn't like, he definitely got a case of Moondogitis. He didn't like giving or taking those chair shots. But yeah, that program ran quite a while with a lot of different partners, but Larry was a constant, and for the most part I was. But yeah, that was and what's weird? What weird was is I was kidding earlier, but that program resonated all over the country, just because of the business we were doing, and business picked up, and it was just a different. We certainly weren't the first trash cans and boards and all that, but it was really hardcore before the term hardcore was used, like it's so prevalent over the last years. And because there was no real rhyme or reason, but I can remember, that's another thing that and I actually bring this up, Jerry, in my seminars. When
your seminars?
Yeah, wrestling seminars.
You do wrestling seminars?
I do, bud. Believe it or not, you've taught me well. But no, talking about psychology in those matches, you can remember that we learned a lot of you had to listen to the audience, because if you're taking a beating on one side of the ring and I'm beating up the guy on the other side of the ring, it doesn't jive. So
yeah, they don't know who to cheer for. Right.
No, they don't. And so listening those kind of matches that were all over the building, it's a whole different style. But it was very interesting, and as I look back on it, educational. Another feather in the cap to learn how to work.
All right, King and Jeff, we'll let you guys go have lunch, and we'll record part 2 here shortly. But for everybody at home, hope you enjoyed part 1 of our 2-part episode with Jeff Jarrett here on Dinner with the King. We'll talk to you guys next week for part 2. Hope you enjoyed it. Listen to us on iTunes, Stitcher, all the podcast platforms. But also, if you want to hear certain clips from Dinner with the King, we have clips, best of clips on YouTube in a playlist. You can just hit play, and all the favorite clips, all your favorite top clips from the show will play on the YouTube playlist. But also on YouTube, we have full shows, everything you need on our YouTube page. YouTube.com/dinnerwiththeking is there. Go to our podcast page, podavenue.com/king, for all the links and all the shows as well. So while King and Jeff are getting some lunch, I'm going to wrap it up, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
The preceding show is a Pod Avenue production.